Do you know that if you get divorced in a foreign country, that USCIS may not accept that divorce decree? Well, in this video, I'll be talking about the 3 situations in which USCIS may not accept your foreign divorce decree. And as always, we don't just talk about the problem, we talk about the solution. So I'll be talking about not only where this shows up, but how you can potentially fix it. I am U.S. immigration attorney Lilian Chukwurah, and I help my clients get green cards and citizenships for themselves and their families using the U.S. immigration law system. The first situation where this shows up is if you have a foreign divorce decree, but you and the person you divorced did not live in the country where the divorce took place when the divorce took place. This is a common thing that we see where someone in the US, living in the US, will decide to get a divorce in the country where they got married because they believe that that is a requirement when it is not. So, if you are thinking about getting a divorce and you have not pulled the trigger yet and you're thinking about doing it in the country where you got married, you need to make sure that your ex-spouse lives in that country that you're trying to get the divorce from. If they do not live there and you do not live there, you cannot get a divorce there because it will not be recognized in the United States. What can you do instead? Get a divorce in the United States. If you live here, you can get divorced here. Now, it may take more time and it may require more from you to make that happen, but at the end of it, you will have a valid divorce that USCIS will not question. If you have already done the divorce in the foreign country, but you have not filed your green card application yet, you are still in a good spot because that means you can still go through and file for divorce, wait for that divorce to be final, remarry your current spouse, or if you're in a state that allows for affirmation of marriage, you can do an affirmation of marriage so that you are able to then file your green card application. What does all of that mean? Affirmation of marriage basically means you're going through a court to say that your marriage was legal when you entered into it, even though your divorce was not final. It's a whole legal process, but it just means that your date of marriage will still be the same. You do not have to remarry your spouse. Now, if you have already filed your green card application and you're already in that process, this is going to get a bit more complex for you, and I am so sorry. You will need to get that divorce. Hopefully, you're able to get that divorce and potentially get the affirmation of marriage before USCIS schedules you for an interview or they start asking questions about that divorce. Now, if your state does not have a process for affirmation of marriage, I am so sorry, but it means that that green card application will be denied because you did not qualify for it when you filed it. So your I-130 cannot be approved because at the time it was filed, you were still legally married to someone else that is not the spouse filing for you. And USCIS will tell you this and give you an opportunity to respond, but it will not be enough time for you to get a divorce and an affirmation of marriage in time to respond to that. So you want to immediately, once you find out that this could potentially be an issue for you, you want to start working on rectifying the problem. This is something I have to flag for my clients when they come in for their marriage-based green card process because I know this is going to be a problem. Whenever I see a foreign divorce, I am asking questions. I need to know where both parties were living when that divorce took place. And if neither of you were living in the country where the divorce took place, it does not count. And we need to start with a divorce before we even talk about the green card application. So I am always having these conversations, and I've had to let clients know that this is a problem and this is how to fix it. And we were able to get it fixed and file their green card application. It just means more time waiting before you can actually file that I-130 and green card application. The next issue that I see when it comes to foreign divorce decrees are whether that divorce decree is actually valid, right? So you got divorced, but is that divorce certificate real or is it fake? That is one of the biggest issues that we see in certain countries. So USCIS has flagged certain countries and their divorce decrees because they are just not believing that these divorce decrees are real. So what do I mean by real? So I will explain with a scenario. You are in the US. You are done with your relationship with your spouse. You two are in the US, but you're done with that relationship. You want to get a divorce. Or your spouse is in your country of origin and you want to get a divorce from them. You contact the family member and tell them, this is what I want to do. I want to get a divorce. Can you help me with the legal process? They say, yes, we got you. We're going to go to the court. We're going to get the paperwork. It's going to be all set. You believe them that they did it right because they sent you a divorce decree. Now you present that to USCIS and they are questioning whether this is actually real because they checked your country's registry and they could not find that divorce. They sent someone from the embassy in your country to go check if there's any record of this divorce and they could not find a record of that divorce. USCIS has literally flagged countries for this. Unfortunately, my beloved Nigeria is on that list of flagged countries. We literally, as immigration attorneys, have conversations about how to overcome this for our Nigerian clients that did go through the right process, but for some reason, it's not being found on the registry or wherever USCIS, the embassy officers, are looking for this. So how do you rectify this? If you're in the process of thinking about getting a divorce, get a divorce where you currently live. Make sure you are going through that process, okay? If you're in the US, your ex-spouse is outside of the US and you want to get a divorce in the country they are in, I do not recommend it, but you may have your reasons for wanting to do it that way. I am not going to tell you not to. What I am going to tell you is that you need to make sure that you are working with an attorney in that country that understands the marriage and divorce rules for that country and is going to make sure that everything is done accurately on that divorce. I have seen cases where the person went to do the divorce and did not mention that the couple had children. And then they go to rectify it, and now it becomes a problem. Okay? So the divorce decree needs to be accurate as to the parties and their life. Do not put in your divorce decree that you two have now lived together for 10 years when you just traveled to the US together 5 years ago, right? So your divorce documents need to be accurate. And the best way to do that is to work with an attorney or someone that does divorces in that country to ensure that everything is done accurately. And not only is it done accurately, but it is registered properly. It is going through the high court if you are in Ghana. If you're in Nigeria, it is going through the right court system in the state you're in. It is really important that you go through the right procedures for that divorce because if you do not, that divorce will not count. USCIS will see it as invalid and they even charge you with misrepresentation for providing a fake divorce decree, whether you knew it was fake or not. So it's really important that you do not just hand it off to a family member somewhere, but that you hand it off to someone that is legitimately an attorney that understands the laws and the rules and will do that properly and appropriately for you. Unfortunately, for most people, they find this out when they are in their USCIS interview, or right after the interview, they get a notice of intent to deny or a request for evidence asking for more information about the divorce. This happens so often. So you, in that situation, you're kind of stuck a little bit. Like, if you are in the situation where you already had your interview, you are now getting this notice of intent to deny out of nowhere because you thought your divorce decree was real because your family sent it to you saying that it was real. I'm telling you, it happens. What can you actually do? Unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do to fix this other than hiring an attorney over there to ensure that the divorce was actually real, right? For them to go and do the search, contact the court, go through the process, document the process, and give you documentation showing how they searched, how they decided that this divorce is real, and documentation from the court, again, guaranteeing that this divorce is real. That is what it takes to overcome this issue with USCIS. If you do not have the documentation to prove that this divorce decree is real, and you are not looking to hire an attorney to do all the legwork for you, you are not going to be able to overcome this issue. And USCIS will deny your application and will most likely put you in deportation proceedings. Now, if you do listen to me and hire an attorney and they do the search and they're like, I'm so sorry, but this divorce was never registered properly, you are not actually divorced in this country, well, now you're back to a solution that we talked about in the first part, which is getting an actual divorce and then remarrying your spouse or doing an affirmation of marriage. What I can tell you is, when you're already in that notice of intent to deny stage, you only get 30 days. In most states, you're not able to get a divorce done and remarried in 30 days. I can tell you that much. But you should start that process immediately to give yourself enough time to have a divorce done, to remarry, just in case USCIS gets around to denying your case and putting you in deportation proceedings. You would already have the divorce and the remarriage going on so that you can now start all over again with an I-130. Keeping in mind that now you're in deportation proceedings, you may need to argue that it wasn't a misrepresentation and present evidence that you were not trying to present false documentation to USCIS. But again, if all else fails, like I always say, you should be getting a divorce where you live, going to court, making sure everything is done according to the rules. I hope you are getting value out of this video already, but I do want to jump in here and ask you to tell me in the comments what immigration topic or issue you're having or you're curious about that you want me to do my next video on. I am going to go through your comments and I'm going to pick one person from that to get a free consultation with me. I offer a paid 30-minute session with me where we talk about your situation, do a deep dive into your case, and figure out what your next steps are going to be. So if you would like to be entered into that, please go ahead and put in the comments, what is the next topic you want me to cover based on what you're interested in? Because again, the whole point of me making these videos is to make sure that I am answering your questions and I am helping you. So tell me in the comments what topic you want me to cover next in a video, and I will pick one of you or more to get a free 30-minute consultation with me. The third way that we see foreign divorces be an issue for couples is if it was a traditional marriage that was ended traditionally. And I'm going to tell you, and hold your hand very, very tight when I tell you, that traditional marriages count as marriages, especially if you are from West Africa. I know, because you didn't go to the registry, you did not do a church wedding, you skipped the white wedding. You did not do the registry. You just did, the bride price, or you did the traditional. That is okay, because guess what? It still counts as a marriage, because in Nigeria, in Ghana, in all these countries, those marriages are legitimate marriages. They are considered legal marriages, whether you register them or not. There are countries that require the marriage to be registered in order for it to be valid. Okay, so it's not every single country in the world that does traditional marriages that they count as a marriage. There are countries that require you to actually register the marriage in order for it to count as a legal marriage. Ghana and Nigeria are not one of those. Ghana and Nigeria are not one of those. So if you do a traditional marriage in those countries, I'm going to tell you right now, that is a marriage. It does count as a marriage. And if you want to marry someone else, you need to get a divorce from that marriage. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about the divorce aspect of it. If you're doing a traditional divorce, in most situations, there's not going to be legal documentation of the divorce, right? You're returning the drink, you're returning the bride price, and then the families meet and do the ceremony of returning the things, and you leave, and the marriage is dissolved. And you think, well, we're divorced now. You need something to show to USCIS that you are divorced now. And in most countries, they are now having a registration where you can actually register your divorce, your traditional divorce, with the courts. So Ghana, for example, you can definitely do that. Nigeria, you can definitely do that. Okay? You can register your traditional marriage and you can register your traditional divorce. So please do not fall into the trap of thinking that just because there's a traditional marriage that you do not need documentation to show for it, or that it does not count as a legal marriage, because guess what? USCIS knows better. The officers at the embassy are trained to know what each country's traditions are. So if they know in your culture that this is a traditional marriage, it's a marriage. Quick thing, I have seen people go to their interview for a fiance visa and they're showing pictures of, a ceremony, and the officer does not understand what's going on in the pictures and is thinking, oh, this may be a marriage ceremony, but they're telling me that it's just an introduction. The officer calls someone that is very familiar with that culture, and the person looks at the pictures and it's like, nope, that's a marriage. That is not just a high family meeting. No, this is a marriage. And the officer denied the K1 visa. That fiance visa was denied because the officer's like, nope, you're already married. You need to file a marriage-based case. Okay? So now they have to start their whole process all over again. I'm telling you, it happens. It happens. If you did a traditional marriage, just assume that that marriage is legal and get documentation for it. If you do get a divorce from that marriage, get documentation for it as well. So those are the 3 ways that foreign divorces can hunt your marriage-based green card application. So make sure that you are taking steps to rectify this. If you haven't already started your green card process, please make sure you're doing the divorce correctly, or just do it in the US and then you don't have to worry about that. Again, that's if you're physically in the US, right? That goes without saying. But if you are in the US, do your divorce in the US, then you don't have to worry about a foreign divorce decree. I'm just saying, right? But if you need help with this, if you are trying to figure out, okay, am I still married even though I have a divorce decree? Schedule a consultation with me. Let's talk about it. Show me your divorce decree. Let's talk about what you need to do next to make sure that you are protecting your case in the future. If you're going through your own green card journey and you want assistance with it, whether it is reviewing the forms that you have prepared, having us prepare your forms and you represent yourself in front of USCIS and the embassy, or you want us to represent you from beginning to end, feel free to schedule that consultation. I am more than happy to talk to you, figure out what we can do for you, and how we can help you make your immigration dreams a reality. If you want to do that, go ahead and go to my website, lilylegal.com, click on contact us, and you can pick a date and time that works best for you for us to talk about your case.